Hello, I'm Mamdou El-Shami, and you're watching Mediaplex News Now. University of Windsor students are beginning to worry about the condition of the Ambassador Bridge. Kenton Wolf reports.
University of Windsor students are being made to feel uncomfortable. The 83-year-old Ambassador Bridge is starting to show its age. The bridge is privately owned by billionaire Matty Maroon. Maroon's unwillingness to fix the bridge has university students like Justin COTH worried about the bridge's safety.
It just seems like the bridge is in total disrepair. Like they don't keep it in the good condition you'd expect for an international border crossing.
Wooden barriers have been installed to stop some of the falling concrete. However, some parts are still uncovered. The worst portion of the fallen concrete is right over top of the student and staff parking lots.
I'm constantly afraid something's gonna collapse or something bad's gonna happen. I don't park there anymore for that reason.
$20 million is put into refurbishing the steel supports underneath. However, the driving deck still requires work. Though it remains to be seen whether Matty Maroon or the government will do anything to fix the poor conditions of the bridge, clearly students are being made to feel uncomfortable. From Mediaplex News Now, I'm Kenton Wolf.
Windsor Police Service are helping to educate the community on crime prevention. Aussie Vizcano has the story.
As part of the 2012 Crime Prevention Week, the Windsor Police Services held an information session on November 8th to discuss the basic concepts of preventing crime. The session was held at the Major F.A. Tilson VC Armory and Police Training Center for people interested in crime prevention through environmental design. The Director of Physical Planning and Resources, Mr. Barry HORROBIN, said safety is one of the goals that they are aiming for.
The goal of this information session, which was on crime prevention through environmental design, is to examine the way our communities, neighborhoods, cities, roads, parks are designed and built with a view to optimizing the safe usage of those spaces. And where there are problems that attract criminal behavior or nuisance behavior, to re-examine those spaces from a design perspective, a critical design perspective, and make changes physically to restore them to a safe usage.
LAUREEN, an employee of the Safety Village Neighborhood Watch, uses this opportunity to learn more information that she will be able to use at her home or at her workplace.
The main thing that I learned is pretty much there needs to be that sense of community for crime to be reduced. If you are aware of who's around you and the activity that occurs on a regular day basis, then you're going to know better what is suspicious and what is not.
We're using social media a lot more, so we're using Facebook, we're using Twitter. We have our website, of course, as well, and just making people more aware of this information in different forms so that whatever form is most comfortable for a person to obtain this information, we'll try and meet them on that level and provide the information that way.
As part of the Crime Prevention Week this year, the Windsor Police Services raises awareness through holding an information session that encourages the community to be more engaged in preventing crime. I'm Aussie Marie Vizcano, reporting for Mediaplex News Now.
Windsor Express played their home opener on November 9th. Jill Thompson was courtside to bring us this report.
After an awesome win for their home opener on Friday, the Windsor Express was slightly derailed by a 1-point loss to the visiting Oshawa Power. Falling behind by 16 points in the later half of the game, the Express fought as hard as they could to regain some points, with Captain Mike Helms controlling the court and the fantastic rebounding skills of Kevin Lasselle. The Express cheerleaders kept the crowd jumping with an intense halftime show, proving that Windsor has what it takes to hang with any other team in the league. Leading the way for Windsor offensively were University of Windsor import Greg Surmash with 16 points and 11 rebounds, 10 defensively. Helms contributed 15, including 3 3-point shots, and Anthony Johnson had 12. Windsor hosts the Summerside Storm on Friday, November 16th at 7 p.m. and again on Sunday at 2 p.m. This is Jill Thompson for Mediaplex News Now.
Brett Hedges sat down with the owner of Windsor Express, Dartis Willis, on this week's edition of 5 Minutes With.
Hello, I'm Brett Hedges, and we're spending 5 minutes with Dartis Willis, the president and CEO of the Windsor Express basketball team, the newest franchise awarded by the National Basketball League of Canada. Dartis, how long did it take for the Windsor Express to become a reality rather than an idea?
Well, we spent some time with the league doing some performance consulting, looking over the strategic plan. If you look at the time that we actually spent determining whether Windsor was a market to move forward, it was about 6 months.
Now, why was Windsor the only city allowed an expansion rather than the other cities that had applied?
Well, there were 4 other markets that were applying the same time we were. The league has some stringent criteria that they use to determine whether or not a franchise would fit in a particular city. We had roughly about a year to plan, so when the application officially went in, all of the things like the operational, the structural, the financial, and market assessment were done prior to our application. So we had some time to look at some of the pros and cons within the application itself.
Mm-hmm. Now going over to the coaching a little bit, what set your coach Bill Jones above all of the other coaches that applied for your coaching position when in the search?
Well, there were a short list eventually of about 4, but we started off with 10 solid candidates that we thought might fit the market itself. Bill Jones stood out of the final 4, and Bill had some unique characteristics about himself, about what he's done in his past, and that really fit quite well with what we were trying to achieve here from a strategic standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Now, what was the motivation behind trading the first overall draft pick in the NBL draft this year to bring back Isaac Kwan, a University of Windsor graduate?
Well, you know, one of the things that we've done quite well, my area of focus in my career was organizational development. We planned out very clear what we needed to do to be successful in this market. And one of them is Windsorites are very firm on utilizing some of the home talent. And we happened to identify Isaac Kwan early on during the All-Star game last year. And Isaac stood out, both from a professional standpoint as well as from a court standpoint. We got opportunity to sit down with Isaac before he even shot his first shot during the All-Star game. Isaac performed quite well in the game, but off the floor he was a gentleman. He was very well spoken, and he talked highly about what they did at the university with the Lancers. So Coach Oliver did an exceptional job in ensuring that he was really equipped with the right tools to move forward. So we think he would be a very good fit, or we thought he would be a very good fit for the market himself.
Okay. Now, how important is it for the public to have a hometown feeling about this team in its inaugural season?
Well, this is my 3rd venture where the public had to play a part. And anytime you start something where your fans are the key driver of how successful you'll be, it's always important that you ensure that you engage the public so they have that hometown feel of a basketball team or professional sports team.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking about the league, do you like the direction that the NBL is going in?
You know, I had some direct contact with the president of the league, Andre Livingston. I've known him for quite a while. Andre is a very focused, successful, and goal-oriented person. He wants to take the league in the same direction. I think just the venue itself, when I say venue, the League of Canada, it has the opportunity to really be in a very exciting league within the world, period. If you look at some of the other countries, France, Italy, Germany, you know, they did quite well. Well, here you have Naismith, who founded basketball, but yet the country didn't have a league. And we're better to start a league, but in Canada, where basketball was founded.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about the franchise as a whole, what is your expectation for this upcoming year?
Well, you know, just funny you asked that. That same question has been echoed by several people. My expectation is always that we'll be successful, that we'll be integrated into the community, that we'll be a vital part of the community, as well as be winning and a great entertainment piece for the community.
Mm-hmm. We've just spent 5 minutes with Dartis Willis, President and CEO of the Windsor Express basketball team.
Journalism students at St. Clair College have begun broadcasting live shows to advance their journalistic skills. Marissa DeBortoli was on the set.
Students from St. Clair College's journalism program have tackled a new challenge this year. The video journalism classes have been creating and producing a live show on Kojiko TV. Dave Harrison is a teacher at St. Clair College and helps to organize and produce the show.
The students play every role. They are reporters, they are the news anchors, they're the weather people, they're the news writers. So they do every role and put the show together. They run the teleprompter, they run the playback, they do the timing of the show. So every facet of the operation is done by students.
Live shows help the students hone their skills and learn to run a show. The students also produce all of their own content that is run on the live show. Rob Bennion is a second-year student and an associate managing editor for the Converge Citizen.
Tonight I was the host, my first time on live TV, so it was kind of exciting. Thought I'd be a little bit more nervous than I ended up being, but once I got started, it was pretty smooth.
Mediaplex News Now shows on Cogeco TV Cable 11 from 6 to 6:30 on Tuesday nights. It also repeats on Saturday afternoons from 1 to 1:30. I'm Marissa DeBortoli reporting for Mediaplex News Now.
Author Sam Dragich visited the studio recently and spoke with Rob Bennion on this segment of 5 Minutes With.
I'm Rob Bennion, and today we're spending 5 minutes with author Sam Dragich. Sam, I understand you've had 2 careers over the course of your lifetime. Can you tell us a little bit about the first?
Yes, I was an elementary school principal for 26 years. I spent 34 years in education. My second career, I was a technical services manager for an international contract staffing agency. And I did that for 11 and a half years, hiring people really all over the world, but mostly in the automotive industry for about 5 or 6 years. And then when the automotive industry went into some problems that they had, I went non-automotive and was very successful at it.
I understand you've become a motivational speaker and an interview coach.
Yes, and it's been fun doing that. And I do enjoy helping people. I always want to be known as a teacher per se, so I enjoy that part too.
You've written a book on interviewing and techniques, do's and don'ts, faux pas, things like that. Can you tell us about your book?
Yeah, I wrote the book because I've sat in on hundreds of interviews, and I know why people fail. And this book was written for those people who have an interview tonight. Really, they can read it in one day, not very many hours. It'll take it maybe 2, 3, 4 hours to read. But it's so helpful, and it highlights the reasons why people fail an interview. And there are 4 major reasons why they fail.
And why is that?
Well, number 1, they interrupt the questioner. Number 2, they have long answers. And I explain that in the book. I highlight that and give a lot of paragraphs about that. Another one is that they name drop. And that's very dangerous if you name drop, because you got to keep your professionalism, and I explain what that means and give examples about it. And fourthly, they don't listen. Listening is probably the most important reason. You see, 95% of the problems that occur in the workforce are people problems. And any HR manager looking for someone to add to their team looks for someone that will not be a problem. So in the interview, if you throw up red flags, they're not interested. They'll move you to that pile that says, don't waste my time. Because you know what HR managers want to do, and HR personnel? They want to do training programs. They want to look after people's benefits. They want to write ads to hire new people. Mm-hmm. But the most difficult job is those where they have to counsel people with their problems. And that costs time and money.
Your book, in addition to the 4 don'ts you just mentioned, you go through everything from how to prepare for the interview to not having nose hair, everything like that. So yeah. you go through the do's, the don'ts, before and after. Can you tell us about what you should do or not do after an interview?
Yeah, first of all, I want to remind people that what the interviewing person is doing is looking to see if you're a fit in their department, in their organization. After you have an interview, you should self-evaluate. And especially if you've written my book, I've got a lot of things there that you try to remember what you did in the interview. You try and follow through on all those suggestions. But what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't call back the interviewer to say, how did I do? Or can you give me some advice? Look, if they're really interested in you, they'll call you back. You had your chance. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. I think that's really, really important. You also don't send them more information. Hey, if they were interested, I mean, you gave them enough to show them that you might have the qualifications that they might be interested in. They don't need any more. They've already made up their mind.
And I understand this isn't the first book you've written.
No, I've been involved in a lot of writing, and one of the books I read when I had a partner, we owned 14 racehorses together, and I wrote a book called How to Pick Winners at the Harness Races. It was called Stanley's Law. And we sold over 20,000 copies of that book by mail order. That was before internet and before pen pal. So I'm certainly, along with my partner Al Stanley, we're one of Canada's most prolific authors.
What's the difference between picking a winning racehorse and picking a winning employee?
Actually, we always say about picking a winning racehorse, you're looking for a horse that's ready to exert a winning effort tonight. Well, they're very much, as far as similarities are concerned, you're looking for a person that can be part of your organization, that will maintain a dignity and integrity of your company, that will ensure that your mission statement is followed, so that I can trust you, that you'll be confidential, et cetera, et cetera.
And your book, if people want to find out more, they can find you on your Facebook page.
Yes. Just look up Sam Dragich, and there's a spot there that says how to ace the interview, and if you highlight that, you'll see how to order the book.
Sam, what's the best piece of advice you can give to someone looking to land their dream job?
Is to be patient, do the research on the company that you've had an interview for, and probably, given that two people have the same qualifications, and I talk about this a lot, good manners is going to get you the job.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Sam. We've been spending 5 minutes with author Sam Dragich.
Did you know that on this day in 1789, New Jersey became the first state to ratify the Bill of Rights? Now for our weekly weather forecast. Wednesday, we're looking for sunshine with the high of 11 and low of 6 degrees Celsius. Thursday will be similar, but will cool down to a high of 10. Friday, we're looking at isolated showers with a high of 8 and a low of 4. Don't forget to join us Saturday, November 24th for the campus-wide open house. Open from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Mediaplex is located at 275 Victoria Avenue in downtown Windsor. This is your opportunity to explore the campus and see what our programs have to offer. This is Ariana signing off for Mediaplex News Now. Back to you, Momdu.
Christopher Lawrence-Menard is a man of many titles, and Alice Hewitt finds out more about him on another edition of 5 Minutes With.
Hi, I'm Alice Hewitt, and today we're spending 5 minutes with Christopher Lawrence-Menard, play and film writer, actor, director, and president of COULTER Artistic Productions Board of Directors. So Christopher, you just won Best Actor at the American International Film Festival for your work on Planting Vines. Can you tell us how you got involved and what it was like to work on that project?
Sure. Suede Productions was the company behind Planting Vines, and they put out a casting call for local actors looking to be in a film. We were going to shoot mainly in Windsor and then like a 3-week stint in Montreal. And so I went to the initial audition. I'd been involved in theater for about 6 years at that point, and had worked on some of my own film projects. So I went to the audition. It was grueling is probably the best word for it. There was probably 5 different days that you had to go back in and read with different people and sit in sort of a waiting area with a bunch of guys that looked the same as you looked, wondering what you were doing when you got into the room. So I landed the part and worked on that film with them for about a solid 2 months.
So you've also been involved in writing your own feature films, such as Whatever It Was.
Yeah.
What got you started on that project, and what inspired you to take it to film?
Whatever It Was actually a stage play back in 2004, and it had a great response from the audience who saw it. We packed Mackenzie Hall for about 6 performances, and there was a lot of interest on the part of the cast and people who saw the play to see something more from the characters. And I wasn't at the time interested in doing any kind of continuing story, so I thought, what's a different format that this might work in? And at the time, I had met Dylan Pierce, who is from Windsor and was a local filmmaker. He'd done a feature film called Baby Blues, and it had had some great response, good exposure. Dylan and I sat down over drinks, and literally I just sort of played out for him, here's the plot, here's the cast, the characters, here's what it would look like. And he said, this could work for film. So that was inspiring to me to hear that he thought it would work up on the big screen. And that was my first sort of attempt to really work with a screenplay.
So how important do you think local film is to the Windsor and Essex County?
Incredibly important because it brings together Windsor Essex has a lot of stage performers. They have a lot of musicians. They have visual artists who are so incredibly talented across the board. What film does that most of the other mediums don't is it brings together your visual artists who you have working on set design and construction and the look of a film. It brings together so many local actors who are amazing at what they do on stage. And that transfers very well into film. But then it also incorporates writers and technicians and a whole side of it. I feel like film is the place where it all sort of combines. So, you know, in a theater, you've got your actors, your director, and your tech folks, and that's it, you know, working on the show. With a film, I mean, we'd show up on set some days and there would be, you know, 50 to 60 people, all with such important jobs that if they don't do, the film doesn't work. That was fascinating to me, just to interact with all of them and then have a project put together at the end that involved sort of the passion of so many different people. And I think in Windsor Essex, there are so many folks who are just waiting to work on something like that.
So it's safe to say you'll be attending WIF this weekend?
Yes, absolutely. I do every year. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
So among your talents, you're also a playwright, and your drag trilogy has just come to an end. Did you find there was a big difference between writing for film and writing for the stage?
Absolutely. When you write for a film, frequently a film is shot out of sequence. So, you know, you write a script, it has a starting point and an end point, but on day one, you might shoot a scene from the middle of the film, and it might not be till the final day of shooting that you're shooting scenes where characters met. So as a writer, you can really approach it from the point of view of you have to tell that story, right? You have to be really clear about where the connections are and how the whole piece works as a whole. On stage, you have to give that over to a group of actors who in a 2-hour span, same time as a film, take the audience on that journey. So the writing that you do for the stage, there's a lot more exposition that you can put in, there's a lot more detail that you can put in. Film is so visual that you have to really remove a lot of that and let, I guess, the images speak for themselves. So it's two different, very different types of writing. What, for me, attracts me to both types is I love dialogue. I love playing with how people speak to each other and the things that are said and not said. In film, you have a lot more of the not said, you know, unspoken communication. On stage, it's all there. So, very different.
Your work is unique in that it touches upon topics that are personal in nature. What inspires you the most?
Relationships. It sounds so broad and sort of, I don't know, naive, I guess, to put it that way, but when I'm writing about who people are in relation to people around them. And, you know, how you can begin a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, familial relationship, friendship, whatever it is, and be so incredibly important to one another, and then how all of life's events can pull at that or strengthen it or change it. So I'm inspired by, I guess, that interplay between people, and then how I can put that onto a stage or onto a screen in a way that says something to me personally, but is bigger and pulls the people who are watching it in. My goal is always, at the end of somebody experiencing something I've written, I want them to feel like they were somehow a part of it or impacted by it or sort of influenced, I guess.
So your work has often been involved in Windsor Pride. How important is that to you?
Windsor Pride, when I wrote my first big stage play, it was called The Best Man, and I wrote the play at a time when same-sex marriage had just, you know, been legalized. And so the connection, my play focused on a straight couple who was getting married, and the best man had a former relationship with the groom, and the bride didn't know this. And it was sort of this comedy, dramedy, you know, that was just a mess of emotions. And Windsor Pride was a great fit for me at that point to partner with an organization, give something back to the community, and really play off of my own friendships and relationships in my own life. What we were able to do through that play is we married two couples on stage at the start of the show who were from the States and weren't able to get married over there, and they came here and they got married on stage. And it was such an overwhelming moment for me to experience that I thought, going forward, if I can find a way to partner with this organization again, I'd like to do so. So it's been a really nice, you know, we're able to support their educational outreach programs, and a lot of their folks come and see what we do and have a great time. So it's a nice balance.
Well, that's great. Thank you for joining us today, Christopher.
Thank you.
I'm Alice Hewitt, and I've just spent 5 minutes with Christopher Lawrence-Menard.
This year is the 50th anniversary of author Ian Fleming's iconic character, James Bond. Steve Anderson was there to take in the action.
Take the bloody shot.
James Bond Skyfall set new records this weekend, grossing as the highest earning domestic opening in franchise history, and not by a small margin. At the midnight premiere of Skyfall, the most dedicated Bond fans came in and set themselves to be the first in Windsor to watch the film celebrating its 50th anniversary.
Where the hell have you been?
Enjoying death.
From Russia with Love to Dr. No, featuring Sean Connery, or Octopussy with Roger Moore, to even more recent years with Pierce Brosnan. The face of James Bond has changed, but some things remain the same.
Dry martini, lemon peel, shaken, not stirred. Vodka? Of course.
DEEPESH Phulwani, on vacation in Windsor, decided to take the opportunity to see the newest James
Bond.
Bond.
Every James Bond movie has something new in it. It's so much more exciting, so much suspense on it. Every scene, every 30 minutes, every 40 minutes, there's something new in the movie. It's old school, so much of technology on it. One of the best movies I've ever seen of James Bond.
And Bond fans appreciate Daniel Craig's intense delivery while keeping the classic elements to the film.
I like him a lot as an actor. He brings like an intensity and a kind of a darkness to the role that you don't see with anyone else. And he's a guy I've kind of followed since like Road to Perdition.
James Bond Skyfall blew away the box office competition, grossing $87.8 million in an extraordinary movie that paralleled many of the originals in more ways than one. Where other movies such as second place Wreck-It Ralph, which earned $33.1 million, and third place Flight, $15.1 million, could hardly compare. And for Mediaplex News Now, I'm Anderson, Stephen Anderson.
An abandoned kitten that was found on the streets of Windsor is being nursed back to health. Erin Christie has the story.
They call him Optimus. He is the lone survivor of 3 emaciated kittens discovered in a duffel bag nearly 2 weeks ago. And although he is only 7 weeks old, Animal Control Officer TAMMY says he has already experienced enough trauma to last a lifetime.
He didn't even have a temperature, didn't register on the thermometer. He was skin and bones. He had nothing in his stomach.
HOLUBESHEN says she was contacted by the Windsor Essex Humane Society after an M-Wing Utilities employee reported hearing the sounds coming from a closed duffel bag on an empty lot on the 700 block of Northwood Street.
I basically called out Kitty to see if there was a cat in it, and I heard back a very loud meow.
HOLUBESHEN estimates that the kittens were only in the bag for 24 hours, but says the severity of their condition indicates they have been mistreated for most of their short lives.
Sadly, what happened to Optimus is not unique. Cats and other animals are abandoned on a sadly regular basis.
COULTER says cases like this underscore the importance of getting the word out about what the Humane Society does.
Our intake area is open 8 to 6, 7 days a week. People can bring in stray animals, they can bring in surrendered animals. There are fees for some animals to drop off.
In the meantime, the Humane Society is asking anyone with information regarding this case to contact their investigations department or Crime Stoppers. For Mediaplex News Now, I'm Erin Christie.
I'm Mamdou Al-Shami. Thanks for tuning in. You've been watching Mediaplex News Now.